So today, I'm going to give sort of a whirlwind tour of React, how to do React, like how I do React, or how I do it quickly. And so this is going to be recorded and hopefully uploaded. So hopefully, if you guys don't get any benefit to it, somebody hopefully will.
Sorry, I'll just drop off and I'll join you soon.
Okay. No worries. I'll share my screen. I just created a demo one. I'm just going to delete some stuff. Okay, yep, that didn't work. Okay. It's all over here now. I want to go back over there though. Where's my readme? This one. I'm looking at it. What? I want to view it nicely. Oh, there it is. Yay. So, React. So now so generally, like I'll start from the start. When you create a React app project, like generally you use, like a lot of people use create React app, but I think Veep is now sort of the better one. It's a lot faster. I use it a lot. It's good. So that's sort of the first thing I'd change if you're following normal React stuff. And then you want to set up your code quality tools. So Prettier is must, and then linting. So if you're working across a team of people, on each commit, you can set Prettier up. So it like Prettier and linting. So on each commit or each push, it's going to make sure the code is always at least formatted and linted to some degree. And then so for styling, for websites, you have your normal options, your CSS, your Sass. These days people use Tailwind in React apps a lot. So these are full design solutions, I call them. And so like nothing is easy. You have to do everything yourself, like searching, Stack Overflow. So I only recommend using sort of CSS, normal CSS, Tailwind, if you're like a decent designer and you know around CSS. What I use, or what you can use, is stuff like Material UI or Bootstrap. This is for like a developer. It's going to let you, go a lot faster and have your, website not look like total crap. So I prefer Bootstrap. So we'll be installing Bootstrap. And then sort of React Router. This is how you get, your routing between pages. So you can have like, I'm going to create a to-do app today. So we're going to route between sort of the home page and the, you can see my screen, right? I'm showing the right screen. Yeah. So we're going to route between sort of the home page, the viewing page, and creating to-do page. So this is pretty simple. So it's React Go to V6. If you're searching up on Google, always append V6 because you can sometimes get V5 and it's really annoying. They're not super compatible. And then my favorite one, React Query. So this is better data fetching. So I might show you if we have time how we used to do the data fetching with like annoying use effects and hooks and stuff in React. But React Query essentially handles the whole data fetching sort of life cycle for you. It has caching, automatic refetching. It's extremely simple to use and it's way better. And then if you use something like Axios, it can be even better. Formic, good one. You can just write normal forms, but I like Formic. Makes things somewhat easier. State management, I say stay away from stuff like Redux and something like Xstate unless your UI is like sufficiently complex. There's no reason to, shoot yourself in the foot with really complicated tools. You can get away with like restructuring your React app using context and hooks and stuff. And then also sort of Amplify Incognito. So these are authentication and authorization solutions. So I say for authentication, authorization, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't do it yourself. If there's much easier ways to do it, do a plug and play library that does all the heavy lifting for you. And so AWS Amplify has hosted UI, which means that it'll do all the UI for you. You don't have to do anything. And then Cognito is actually the tool which has all the user accounts on it. And so there are some alternatives to this. Auth0 is one, and Okta. These are quite expensive, but if you're only using it for MVP, I think it's free. It's like free for like a month or whatever. I won't go to the rest. So don't do a custom solution. It'll just hurt. So I've got some other little notes here, but I mainly just want to, so I'll show you what I'm gonna make today. It works. So we're gonna essentially just do a simple to-do app. We're gonna be able to have a home page. We're gonna create to-dos, and we're gonna view to-dos. And hopefully this just gives you sort of auto-direct sort of people on the front end teams. Hopefully it just gives you some building blocks to work off from. So I'm going to create it from scratch. So here, go to that. And then, so where is my README? Just going to do this one. Spread beat. Choose our framework, React. So I use TypeScript for all my projects. For your projects, I probably don't. If you don't know TypeScript, don't use it. It'll just be pain. JavaScript will suffice for MVP. But for any serious endeavor, definitely use TypeScript. So this gives us, so we create our template. This gives us our basic app. And then we just need to go in here and sort of destroy everything. Let's go something. So I delete any new project. I'll just delete the CSS folders straight away. Get rid of the CSS stuff from here, and then get rid of all that. And we have to install. So the first thing, first problem I get is that, oh, my formatting is all fucked up. So we need to install Prettier. So for Prettier configs, all you do is create this .prettier RC file in the root directory. And then I have not that one, this one. So I usually just go to ChatGPT and be like, create me a Prettier RC file. Just fucking paste that in there. And then now you have to make sure that when you do this, that VS Code is set up. So there's this little button down here. This will tell you sometimes, oh, invalid Prettier configuration detected or whatever. And then you can debug why Prettier isn't working. And then go into your settings and like search up Prettier. You can find like the config path or something there. Anyway, so back to what we have. So now we have a blank page. Cool. So absolutely nothing. So now we want to sort of get our routing right, but I also want to do our styling first because it'll make things look nice while we're doing it. So install Bootstrap. Now, generally have to go, I always forget how to do it. React. Bootstrap, quick start. For any of these like packages, I always look up the quick start because I always forget how to do it. And so it tells you importing. So you have to import the CSS into the top. And if you read this, it'll tell you what it does. But you import this into your like main CSS folder. So then this is now all the CSS. We don't need to write any more CSS. And then it should be able to see. We now run it again. But yeah, we have a hello world that is bootstrap CSS. Now we want to add some basic routing. So npm install React router DOM. And then again, actually the quick start for React router sucks. So I just haven't actually sort of memorized that one, I think. So we want a import. We want to get rid of the strict mode. And we want a browser. So you need to wrap your main app component in this browser router. And then you need to import it. Oops. Import it. It won't import. Oh no. Import browser. Router. So then we have our router. So you have to wrap your app in the browser router. And then you come in here and then you create routes. And then each different route is a route.
Hi, mate.
You're back.
Sorry, I just had a call from work. Some issues come up, but all good. I see you by yourself.
Oh, well, has everyone left? Hold on.
Oh my God. I see others.
Oh no, everyone's here. Everyone's here.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't see it. Yeah, all good.
Yeah, this probably won't be super relevant to you right now, but if you have, your teams who have people who are doing the front end, hopefully it's recorded and it's helpful to them.
Cool, thank you.
So if you're not a React person, you can leave if you like and it's not relevant. You've missed quite a lot, Mohammed, but that's okay. So what I'm doing, you've done some React before, so it shouldn't be so foreign. But I've just set up like my application, set up like my prettier and stuff, so everything looks nice. And now I'm just adding React router DOM, so putting my routes together. So we're making a to-do app. We're just going to have three simple routes. We're going to have our homepage. We're going to have our creating our to-do, and we're going to have viewing to-dos. So let's just go. So this is how you use it. So you have the routes, and then your route to equals, is it 2 or no, it's path. This one, path. So first, I create one, a view one. So now we will create our other components. And so we'll create a to-do folder. We will create TS6. And then view TS6. And then on here, I'll make a home for TS6. I'm not going to have any props on this. But also functional components don't use class components anymore. They suck. They're gross. Components are definitely the way to go. So now let's see what we have. Actually, so hello world. Go back to here. Element. So you have to give it an element. We're going to give it that home one we just created. So then we have our path at the root of the website, and then we have our element component we're going to be displaying, which is home. It's a home, and we have sort of this annoying thing going on where we have hello world and home. So sort of the router only controls like the routes in here, and anything out of it will you know, continue to be here, no matter which route we're in. So we can just remove that and then have, if you just want pages, you know, just have all that logic in here. And then if you wanted like a nav bar up here, you know, have a nav bar, and then that'll be throughout the entire app. And it doesn't matter which sort of route we change to, that nav bar will stay there. But let's finish off sort of the basic blocks of our 2 app. I don't need any props because I'm not passing any, I'm not passing anything to the function, to the component, sorry. And then we can just copy and paste this one to that one, and just change this to 2. To do create, okay. So then in home, I want to create things to navigate between my components. So I'm going to create a simple button. So this is a bootstrap button. Where is my bootstrap? That's annoying. Good. View. And then so with React Router to make these, so if, you know, if we go up here, these do absolutely nothing. So you need to wrap these in what's called a link. And this is a React Router thing. And then you need to give it a 2, and this will go to create route, create route. And this will go to the view route. And then I like to have them underneath each other. So I'm gonna watch it. Yeah, we're gonna wrap these in divs. So now we have sort of goes to create one, this one goes to the view sort of route. And if I have, should be going, that shouldn't. Oh, because I don't have the elements specified here. So again, so we can do create. Similarly, to view those as well. So now if I create to view, to sort of set up the basic skeleton for my application. Now what are we going to do? So now I can actually do some nice styling on this, or maybe not nice, but I can do some styling on this. Make them not look so bad. Sort of with Bootstrap, we can just add classes to things. So I'm going to set the width 50 m auto. So that sort of gets it in the center. So the width, I'll show it in more detail soon. Just center. Then I want to go in here. M top 3. And get this one as well. So all I've done here is just added some sort of, these are sort of Bootstrap things. You just add classes to your divs, and then that'll affect the CSS. It's a lot easier. So what I've done is I've got my sort of, I've got my you know, my full div, and then I've got this smaller div, and I've made this 50%. And then made it, what have I done? I made that 50% of the full div. This M auto centers sort of the block elements, the div elements there. And then this is margin top. So width 50, margin top 3. That's just like, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just sets fixed sort of lengths. And then text center centers all sort of the text elements here. And then I've also given each of these a little bit of a margin as well. So you can see how you can easily sort of define layouts with Bootstrap. Now, what else are we going to do? So well, we can't view anything yet if we do go and view anything, because we need to create our to-dos first. So let's create some to-dos. So we're going to need a form. So Bootstrap also has forms here, and we'll use Formic, but do the Formic stuff afterwards. So GitHub Copilot is going to do this correctly. And so we'll do it all correctly. So yeah, with the forms with Bootstrap, you sort of create these form groups, get rid of that control ID, that one. You create these form groups, and then you create the form.label and this form.control. So this control is the same. It's just like input, an input element, if you're familiar with that. So same thing, it just has styling on it now. And so text, name. So for to-dos, we're going to have a title. We're going to have also a description. Description. And then if we go back to here, we'll have this awful looking form. Again, I can sort of apply the same trick that I did on my phone. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. And just wrap everything in this div. So now we have, get rid of text center, the rows. So now we have sort of this somewhat sane looking form. We just need a button. Submit. So more same looking form. Now we're going to add Formic into this. So again, most of the time I'll just go into like Formic quick start, and then like just copy and paste everything from here. But I have already done this, so I know what to do. But yeah, generally you just like go Formic and just copy and paste all the stuff that you need. Formic. So Formic is going to wrap our form. And it's essentially just going to provide a lot of helper, I guess, functionality to forms to make it easier. I could install it. It's so sad. And then we need to give it some initial values, and we want to give it an object, which will be a title, which will be, so a title in our description will be empty initially. And then we need to give it an on submit. And then on submit at the moment, we're just going to go console log. So this takes in our values. Log the values that it gives us. And then to sort of connect the Formic stuff up with the form stuff, you need to give it this crazy function, which I can never remember. I think you can just get it from here. So it needs to be wrapped. So this form needs to be wrapped in this function now. Oops. Errors. All these structure elements are used. did work in my other one, so I'll just proceed on. So to sort of hook everything up, you need to give these sort of form control parts. You need to give these sort of value equal values dot title, because this is what we've defined here as our initial values. And then you go on change equals on change. Or handle change. And you need to give this to all of your form control elements. And then one other thing on submit for the form element, you need to give it handle submit. So that'll give control to the form sort of component. And now if we've this up all correctly, should see sort of, oh, we have not. So description. So you need to give it the actual value that it takes. So SDF, good console log out. Yes, we get our title and our description. So with Formic, you can also have, you'll see in the documentation, errors.email, touch.email. So you can make your forms quite nice. Like if any errors, validate, like you can have, you can use something called Joy and add a validation schema, and that'll validate the actual form elements. You can give it like, okay, this must be a string, you know, title must be a string, description must be a number, or whatever. And you can validate them, and then you can set when they validate. So you can validate on every key press, you can validate when you press submit, and you can do there's a lot of little knobs and dials to change in Formic. But we won't worry about any of that, because now we have to submit. We want to submit this form to our backend. So I have made a small backend for this demo. So like all of your projects, you're most likely going to be working with the backend, and you're going to be submitting data to the backend. So this is where React Query comes in. So I'll just install React Query. And with React Query, again, looking up the quick start, I already have it looked up. So this is just a quick start for React Query. So in our main, React Query, in our main thing, we need to wrap it in like a context. So it's like a React context. Works so well. Private client, query client provider. It's really annoying. It's not giving me my default. Okay, so we have query client and then our query client provider. And so this wraps our app in this client provider, and then we can use sort of the React query functionality in any of our components now. And we can access them via hooks. So that's why I don't say not to use class components, because sort of all of the new libraries these days use hooks in some degree, which is only available on functional components. So for this one, this is going to be what's called a mutation. So const create to do is equal to what is it called? Use mutation. So this takes an object, and one of them field is going to be our mutation function, which install Axios. So Axios just makes it really, really, really easy to make HTTP requests. And so it'll be Axios.post, and my post, I've got it on a weird port, blue. So that'll be, you know, So again, import it. So we're going to send a post request to this endpoint here, and then we're going to give it the values. So this is going to be the values. And so in here, we can then use this hook in here, create to-do dot mutate values. And then, so this is just a pipe script thing. It wants to know what everything is. So give this interface, and that should stop yelling at us. So now, going back to our app, oops. Ambiguous indirect import, export, export. Yeah. So now I go to new description, and should be getting. Actually, no, I want to look at the network tab. So yeah, so you can see that we've sent a post request to localhost 5005, which is that's my server that I just started up, and we sent through. So I sent through a description, title, and I got back sort of a new to-do description ID. So this is probably how you're going to interact with your APIs that you create for projects. Now we just need, so we created to-dos, now we just need a way to view our to-dos. So we'll do that. So how do we do this again?
So what is options are used for?
Sorry?
Can you go back to the screen, the other screen? Yeah,
So
you can see
options,
this.
yeah, options is like a HTTP thing. Options method requests permitted communication options for a given URL. The client can specify a URL for this message. Okay, that doesn't really. Identifying allowed request methods to find out which request methods our service supports. One can use options. I don't know. It just always. I think that's the.
It's for course, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So again, in cause, a pre-flight request is sent with the options method so that a server can respond if it's acceptable. There you go.
Oh, okay.
You know more than I do.
Thank you.
So yeah, so options and then the post request. So yeah, that can always be a fucking annoying thing is dealing with cause, because I feel like there's nowhere that tells you exactly how it works. On my server, like a lot of servers just have something like
usually
enable.
local host, you will not see it, but you will see it when you are deploying it.
Yeah, and so a lot of servers have enable cause or something similar to like enable cause on it. Anyway, where was I? Server on the client. That's the wrong client. Here we are. So viewing. So we can use our React query again. So we want to get the to-dos now. Equals, and then we use the hook. Ooh, use query. It's this. And then it's yeah, I think we can just do so to do. So it takes a query key. So the query key is going to be what like it's going to use that as the caching key. So if you want to invalidate the cache, you can invalidate via this to-dos, and we'll do that in just a second. And then it takes the second one is going to be a function, which is going to get our to-dos from our server. So then I'll get to-dos. And so the good thing about React Query is that it's actually not it's not an asynchronous API. There is no promises returned from it. So you don't have to worry about awaiting or anything. It sort of just works. And I'll show you sort of the example. So get to-dos is loading. And this is sort of another Bootstrap feature as well. So you're gonna have like a spinner. why is this still working? So we can say git to-dos is, so if it's loading, this is just handled by the React query, display this spinner. If not, don't display anything. And then you can do that with like to-do has like is error, is fetched, is fetched up to mount, is fetching. It has a bunch of these sort of state variables on it that you can get. And so what we want to do is we want to go get to-dos. I guess the only sort of annoying part with React query is how you actually access the data. It's a bit confusing. So it has a data mapping. And then I'm just going to let GitHub Copilot complete the rest of my code for me because I'm lazy. And so all we're doing is we're saying, okay, is it loading? Display spinner. And then if it's not, then we want to get the data. So that data will just be, it's going to be a list of to-dos. And we're going to iterate through, which is what this map thing does, iterates through each of those to-dos and then returns some JSX or some HTML. So we can then display it to our user. And so refresh maybe. There we go. We've got our new to-do, and then did a request. We've got the sort of the array of to-do objects. And again, I'm just gonna copy myself again. Excellent. And we get something that like approximately looks good. You know, it doesn't look like total trash. Obviously, it needs some more stuff. We could probably just add like last name. You can add borders. So React now Bootstrap. You can add borders very easily. We might just a little spacing there. So the problem with this, so we have our app, we have our create screen, we have our view screen, our home. So the problem we're running into is that, oh, this doesn't do anything to our user. So let's say we want to navigate back to our viewing screen when we create it. Back to our viewing screen, sorry. So in our on submit, so React router has a hook called navigate or use navigate. And we can use this to navigate throughout our app. So when our mutation's done, we want to navigate to our view. Yeah, what these are, and then submit, and then we create our view. But what happens is that we create our to-do, we navigate to our viewing, but we just created that new to-do. It was ASDF, and it hasn't updated. So we need to invalidate like I was talking about before, we need to invalidate this caching key, and then so it refetches. So now I like, if I create another one, so match this, and then if I have to actually refresh the page for it to work. So what you can do is let's do go const query client, let's use query client. And then here, the use mutation has this on success field, and it'll call this function on success. And we want to go query client dot invalidate queries. And then we'll go to-dos. So then we go back here, we'll refresh everything. Invalidate it properly. and then submit. It didn't work. How annoying. They're not save this. Yeah, so I just didn't save it. So now properly. Whatever. So yeah, now it all works. Sort of every component is sort of stitched together. This probably isn't the best way to do it, because if I press the back button, I go back to the create one, where sort of in my mind, you start at the home screen, you go to the create one, and if I press the back button, I go back to the home screen. But you know, you can use, you can twiddle with the dials and knobs of React Router and to make this, you know, work sensibly and sanely. But this is, yeah, just a basic implementation of a to-do app using some, you know, make it easy for yourself. Use some libraries that are sort of common, or, you know, do a lot of the work for you. So the next thing that I sort of wanted to talk about, but I probably don't have enough time, is and I will upload all of this code so you can steal as much as you'd like. Where is it? Where's my README? So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was Amplify, because this is, I think most people need authentication for their applications. And so, yeah, you have to set up essentially Amplify Incognito. So sort of the steps that you take is that you install the Amplify CLI onto your system. You then configure it. Then you have to go back to like your AWS account and sort of configure sort of the regions and stuff. So Amplify knows the regions. You then go and have to set up like a user for Amplify, an IAM user for Amplify. And then you have to give it like have to give Amplify the access keys. And then once you've sort of set the Amplify CLI up, you can then sort of create an Amplify project. So I have set up my Amplify CLI. So once you've set like Amplify version, Amplify, whoops, demo. Please don't show any of my access keys. So then you init the project, and it's really confusing, I'll be honest, setting it all up. The docs are terrible, but you init it. So you got to install the Amplify CLI, and then you have to like configure Git. Amplify. So yeah, you have to. It's a while. So this actually set up some stuff on your actual account. You then have to add this auth to the project. And then you have to use this pre-built UI components. But you have to go into your actual Cognito account, or like the Cognito in AWS, and sort of set things up as well. Which I should have time to show. No. Because there is some gotchas with this. Amplify, add auth. So you can add social providers, which will be like with Google accounts and stuff, but we'll just do the default one. I want them to log in with their email. Do you want to configure account settings? No, I'm done. So now I have, you'll see if you go into this project, you have some like new Amplify folder, which will handle all the Amplify stuff. Then what do you do? So you have to install these packages. And this is just like the UI hosted, so that we're using the hosted pre-built UI. So we don't have to, you can also like do it manually. I don't recommend doing that. So we're just going to use the pre-built UI today. I'll do some of this off screen so I don't have something. Share my something I shouldn't. But yeah, so incognito, so you'll just go to Amazon Cognito. And you have to create a user pool. So I created this test one. And you'll have to see, hopefully. So with this Cognito, you can like you can do all your user management from here. So it has users, it has groups and stuff. Then you need to go to like app integration and then create a app client. So I created this app client. And so this is going to be like, this is going to give you sort of the client that connects to the user pool. So it's all installed now. So we just check. And what you do is you just copy and paste from the docs. So this was the confusing part for me. Is so you paste this, but this AWS exports isn't like mentioned anywhere. So this is actually like just an object. And hold on, I've done this before. I'm not going to do it again because I can't remember. Yeah, so no, this doesn't have anything red hot in it. So none of this is like, these user pools and client IDs aren't sensitive. Anything you put on your front end should not be sensitive because you can access it from the front end, like anyone can access. So don't put any like secret IDs or anything on here. But you have to, yeah, set up this, you have to configure your Amplify, like install the packages, configure Amplify, and then like, I'm pretty sure what you do is then, this is what's called like a higher order component, which will wrap your app. Type it's faster for this, sign out user. The cheat sheet somewhere here. So props sign out, and then sign out is a function which you can use to sign the user out, and then user has all user details on it. So hopefully, if I set everything up right, I think it won't work actually. Oh, did I install it in the wrong place? No, I didn't. Oh, I might have. Oh, no, I didn't. So what's wrong? So there was a problem here. So using V, you get this really strange error. Global is not defined. And so in the Veep config, your Veep config needs to look like this. Now this will be different if you're using create wrapped app. You might not actually even get this error. And I'm not sure what this even is, but I did this and it didn't work. Oops, what's an operator? And should be directed to the what have I done different in this one? Or maybe I'm actually already signed in. Maybe you signed in already. Yeah, I'm already signed in. So if I go, so you'd have a button, click. Out. So then, yeah, so you get your, so this is entirely done for you. It gets like, what is it? S.com, S23 or something stupid. And then, yeah, it has count requires recovery information. So it does it all for you. So then you have login functionality, you have your user object all done for you here. And this is at test.test.com, and this is your user ID and what have you. So you have sort of, and then you will also, when you, there'll be like a token on here probably somewhere. Or, but when you send, it'll be it somewhere. Yeah, refresh token or something along here. To look in here. So when you send it to your backend, you'll have to verify the JWT on the back end as well. So you sign in on the front end and then send authenticated requests to the back end. So it'll be like, you'll have to change this in the headers or something. I think this is like headers. Yeah, there you go. Headers. You'll have to pass through your components. You'll have to have like a token or something or a user on it. And then you'll pass through the authorization header. And then, yeah, you go verify, and then it'll be like user.token. And then your backend will verify that and you'll be good to go. You have an authenticated front end connected to an authenticated backend. I'm not going to go through the backend authentication. You have to do that yourself. But that's sort of the whirlwind tour of a like basic React app.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's regarding the deployment of the React application.
Yes.
So actually we use React as a front end for our backend
Yes.
in most of our applications.
Yes.
But like we deploy them, we cannot deploy React directly. So we had to use like something else to be on the top of it.
What do you mean? So usually what you do is like, so Vite has npm run build. Oh, npm run build. And I get a bunch of errors, but that should have like a, I get a bunch of errors. It's really annoying. Hold on, I can fix this quickly. My linking errors. And it'll be this one as well. Some properties.
Like I meant like we use it to host it as a Docker container on the top of Nginx.
So you can do a couple of things. It's still not working. You'll get it makes much more sense if you can actually see it. Hold on, get rid of this stuff. Because it's just a HTML file.
Exactly.
So you can just like really you can just chuck it on like so Amplify does it. I think Amplify is like a whole backend as a service as well, but you can just use the front end stuff from Amplify. And I'm pretty sure like when you do all this Amplify shit, you can go like Amplify deploy, and that'll actually deploy it yourself. Like it'll deploy it onto something if you set it up correctly. You can use GitHub Pages if you like. That's a pretty good option.
Yep.
So you don't have to have like you don't have to have an Nginx. And if you do have an Nginx thing, you can just chuck. So when this has like a build, so there'll be like a dist directory here with like an index.html and like all a bunch of JavaScript. You can just chuck that into your like the Nginx
The reason
directory.
why we use Nginx is because the software, like when it builds an HTML like static files, which need to be hosted on a serverless container. And because it's a serverless container, it has to be like built and destroyed.
Well, it doesn't have. You don't have to do that. Like, it doesn't have to be on a serverless container. Like, yeah, you can host it on. You can host it on. Just chuck the S3. You can chuck all your static files on S3. You can chuck your static files into GitHub Pages. I've done that before. This is actually really good. I love GitHub Pages. It's like free web hosting.
Yep.
You can go and have you can then also do a whole EC2 server or serverless thing and post on there. But no, you don't have to have it. You don't have to have like your front end on a serverless container.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure.
Thanks, man. That was beneficial, I think. I had a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So I saw you using React instead of the Create React app.
Yes.
Any from your experience? Any major?
Faster. It's faster.
It's massive.
No, it's faster. It's faster.
It's faster. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
They're just the like when you like update. That's the only reason I use it. I haven't actually got a logical reason apart from it's faster.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure Create React app is like it uses Webpack and stuff. Like, yeah, I couldn't give you like a technical reason.
Right. Okay. Okay. No, that was interesting. I've seen it before. People use it, but I've never used it. So I just wanted, from your perspective. But that's good.
I like it.
Yeah, I'll try it. The other thing I liked was the React query that you showed. So from my understanding, just because I've never used it before, but from my understanding, so you still use the XCS in the backend to do the backend stuff, but you have this mediator sort of thing, like query,
exactly,
like a wrapper sort of thing that manages and caches your update. Is that?
It's essentially just a state management. It's like it's been described as me as a state management library, but yeah, it essentially just manages all the state in regards to querying a backend. And then you don't have to write these super ugly custom hooks for querying and then managing like the caching, the invalidation, all this stuff. It just is all done for you.
Yeah.
And the benefit is it's actually, from our perspective, it's actually synchronous. It's not asynchronous. So like all of these things, I don't have to like deal with promises in any way. It just does it all for you.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Cool. But again, hopefully this video is uploaded. So when you get to like some of the Amplify stuff, because setting up, I know I set it up quite easily just then, but it can be a bastard to set up. But once you get it done, and once you can just chuck it into a project, There you
Yeah,
go. There's your whole sign in done.
yeah.
seconds.
Yeah, as you said, I think the initial configuration of the CLI is a bit tricky, but once you get through that,
The CLI is easy. The configuring, connecting it, the docs are really bad, and connecting it from like getting the amplifier to talk to Cognito is really it's not really complicated. It's really simple. It's just really badly documented.
yeah.
But yeah, hopefully. So I'll this code, you know, I'll put this code up somewhere, and then, you know, hopefully you just copy and paste, or like you can sort of just change a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because like this is really all you need, and then, you know, modify it to your needs.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these tools I showed have like a bunch of configuration that you can make things a lot nicer. This is just a full stack in 1 hour.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good actually. I think it's very beneficial. Thank you.
Yeah.